Before he was the king's drummer, Kwasi lives in a forbidden forest, a place where the trees are so thick that the sun never touched the ground. Kwasi was not born a normal boy. His village believed he was a child of the spirit because he was born with white hair. Fearing he brought bad luck, his people left him in the deep woods where he would smell and die. In the forest, Kwasi did not die. He was raised by the shadow halls and crawled vines. To survive, he had to learn the old language, the sound of the earth. He learned that everything living thing has a pulse. He practiced hitting hollow logs and dried skull to make the sound of every monster that lived in the dark. One night, a great spirit of the forest approached him. It was a creature made of smoke and teeth. Instead of running, Kwasi picked up two heavy bones and beat a rhythm so fast and so deep that the spirit froze. The spirit was so impressed by the boy's power over the sound that he gave Kwasi an ancient gift, a drum made from a tree that has been struck by lightning 7 times. Kwasi grew up in the darkness, his body staying young while his hair stayed white. He became a master of the dark pulse and only music that kept him in control and kept the ghosts and demons in his command. While that was going on, when Kwasi finally left the forest and went to the city, the king was in trouble. The king wasn't just angry, he was being beaten up and eaten from inside.
No!
A ghost wraith had crawled into the king's ear while he slept. While the sun went down, the king's skin would turn cold and grey like a dead fish. His fingernails would grow into a long black claws. He would hollow in the voice that surrounded him like grinding rocks, and he would try to eat the flesh of his own guard. Kwasi was the only one brave enough to enter into the king's room. With his lightning tree drum, he played the sound that felt like fire. The ghost whips heard the heat of the music and would hide under the skin of the king's bone, letting the king be human again for some few hours. There was a servant boy named Zola. The king's servant did not hate Kwasi, he wanted Kwasi dead. Zola went to a witch who lived in a swamp. She gave him the blood of a viper. One night of the red moon, when the ghost witch was the strongest, Zola struck into the palace. He didn't just poke holes in Kwasi's drum, he poured the acid on the wood and the skin. The acid soaking through it, waiting for the first heat to make the whole drum explode. The red moon came in the palace. The king transformed, his jaws unwound. His eyes became empty as black holes. The king stole guards. With a single sweep, he killed 2 of his guards. He was no longer a man, he was a monster. Kwasi stepped into the room. As the air smelled like rot, he raised his hands to play his rhythm to save the king. But as soon as his hand hit the drum, the acid flared up and the ancient drum distinguished into the cloud of coursing white-black smoke. Kwasi was left standing empty-handed. The monster, the king hissed. It sensed that the music was gone. It crawled across the ceiling, dripping black drops and droppings right down the front of Kwasi. It opened its mouth wide to beat off the head of Kwasi. Then Kwasi felt the cold breath of the ghost. He remembered the forbidden forest. He remembered the spirit and the smoke. He remembered the spirit that first attacked him as a young boy. He didn't scream. Instead, he jumped, facing the demon heads on. He jammed his own thumbs and played them on soft parts of his body and his throat, and he began to make a gulletry rolling sound, vibrating his whole body and chest. He started beating his chest so hard that his own skin turned red and bruised. It wasn't just a sound, it was a physical force. Each time Kwasi hit his own chest, a wave of golden light pushed out of him. The ghost ribs inside of the king began to shrink. The sound of Kwasi made was so terrifying that even the heart began to join in the rhythm. This was not just an ordinary sound, it was a sound coming from the depth of a heart. It was like salt pouring on an open wound. Kwasi began to dance, his feet hitting the stone with his leg. The weight of the mountain was so high The room trembled, everywhere crashing down. The ghost whip couldn't take it anymore. It was ripped out of the king's mouth in a cold black meat. Kwasi grabbed the meat with his bare hands, using the rhythm of the clapping, and trapped it and crushed it into nothing less of dust and idolatry. The king fell to the floor, human once again. He said, he looked up to Kwasi, bleeding with his chest and exhaustion from the standing and the dancing. When Zola tried to run away, the king summoned his men to attack and hold him. And he was asked, why would you do this? Why would you want such calamity to fall upon the king and the kingdom? And the king ordered Zolo to be sent into the forbidden forest where Kwasi grew up. Since you hate the sound of the music in the palace, then the king said, go and listen to the monsters in the dark. Kwasi remained with the king's friend. He not only became the king's friend, he became the counsel of wisdom. But he never used the drum again. He knew that the strongest protection in the world was the rhythm of his own brave heart. This was the journey of Kwasi.